Welcome to Betrayal Affairs. In today's story, you're going to walk with me through the deepest cracks of longing, silence, and a single choice that unraveled a life I thought I understood. Every word is a step back into a moment I can't undo, and maybe, if you listen closely, you'll understand why. It started as nothing. No spark, no planning, no forbidden fantasy. Just a quiet evening like any other. A dimly lit living room, the soft crackle of an old black and white movie in the background. I wasn't dressed up. No makeup. Just a worn sweatshirt and old leggings. That was my comfort zone now, faded fabrics, muted colors, a life blurred into grayscale. The world was moving around me, and I wasn't. My name is Dana. I'm 47 years old, and for more than 20 years, I've been married to a man named Paul. He's not a bad man. He's not cruel. He's not violent. But he's also not the man I married anymore. Or maybe I'm no longer the woman who fell in love with him. I don't even know which is worse. We had built a life, 2 beautiful kids, a sturdy home, memories tucked into old photo albums and drawers filled with broken chargers and forgotten receipts. But somewhere in all of that structure, the feeling faded. The warmth drained out slowly, like a leak you don't notice until the room is cold. We didn't fight, but we didn't touch. We didn't laugh, but we didn't cry either. We just existed. 2 people sharing space, but no longer sharing skin or breath or soul. Our days became a schedule, our nights a silence. I knew his footsteps. I knew the way he cleared his throat when he was about to ask what was for dinner. I knew he'd fall asleep within minutes of taking his pills, TV still glowing across the sheets. What I didn't know anymore was how it felt to be looked at like a woman. Like someone who stirred desire. I hadn't felt that in years. Then there was Tyler. Tyler is 31. My best friend's son. I've known him since he was a kid, practically watched him grow up in my backyard. He used to call me Miss Dana, always with this cheeky grin. Back then, he was just a boy with scabbed knees and an obsession with peanut butter sandwiches. He was never mine. He was never supposed to be anything but a familiar face, a sweet memory in someone else's story. But then time passed. College came and went. His shoulders broadened. His voice deepened. His gaze sharpened. He became something I never saw coming, a man who noticed. A man who saw me. I can't tell you exactly when it shifted. Maybe it was at his mom's birthday dinner when he held the door for me and said, "You still look incredible, Miss Dana." Maybe it was when he hugged me goodbye and I felt it, just a second too long, just a whisper of hesitation that made my stomach flutter and my head spin with confusion. Or maybe it was the night everything changed. Paul had taken his muscle relaxers early, his back had been bothering him, and by 9 p.m., he was out cold upstairs. Tyler had stayed late after dinner. We'd all eaten together, steak, roasted veggies. One of those nights where everything feels routine but also warm in a familiar way. He lingered afterward, asked if we could watch something. He loved old films. Said they helped him slow his mind down. I liked that about him, he never seemed rushed. He took his time with things. With people. Especially with me. We sat on the couch like we'd done a dozen times before. But that night, something was different. The room was quiet, except for the soft dialogue from the movie. My body was angled slightly toward him. Our knees brushed. I thought about moving, but I didn't. I told myself it was nothing. Just proximity. Just comfort. Then his hand brushed mine. I should have pulled away. I should have laughed it off or said something. But I didn't. I froze, caught between the comfort of the familiar and the pull of something I didn't want to name. His hand didn't move away. Neither did mine. It wasn't bold. It wasn't some grand gesture of lust. It was subtle, his pinky barely grazing against me. But my body lit up like a struck match. I clenched the blanket on my lap. My heart thudded so loudly I swore he could hear it. Then he whispered, "You okay?" That's all it took. I nodded. He placed his hand on my thigh, not possessively, not to claim, just there. Steady. Reassuring. My skin burned beneath his palm. The world disappeared. I wasn't thinking of right or wrong. I wasn't thinking of Paul. I wasn't thinking at all. I was feeling. His thumb moved, slow and deliberate. My breath hitched. I could feel myself leaning into the warmth, into the quiet tension. I parted my knees ever so slightly. I hated how natural it felt. I hated how much I wanted it. He whispered again. I'll stop if you want. But I didn't want him to stop. We hadn't even kissed, and already I felt unraveled. Seen. Alive. And when I finally turned my head toward him, I kissed him. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't fiery. It was real. Tender. Like surfacing from years of drowning. His lips were warm, soft, careful. He kissed me like I was something precious. Like he had waited. We collapsed slowly, not just physically but emotionally. I let him touch me in places I'd long stopped believing were worthy of touch. He wasn't rough. He wasn't demanding. He was gentle. Knowing. Every motion was a question I answered without words. When the movie ended, we were wrapped in each other, breathing the same heavy air. We didn't speak. We couldn't. There were no words that could explain what we'd just done. The next morning was cold in a way I hadn't expected. Not outside, inside. I stood in the kitchen, coffee cooling beside me, staring at the wall like it might offer clarity. Tyler walked by. No words. Just filled a glass of water. I didn't look at him, but I felt him. Felt everything that had happened between us humming in the silence. Days passed like that. Quiet avoidance laced with impossible tension. We bumped into each other in the laundry room. Our hands met over a basket of clothes. Static ran up my arm. He whispered, I can't stop thinking about it. Me neither, I said. We didn't do it again. Not right away. But the need, the ache, it didn't fade. It grew. Like a hunger I'd tried to starve for too long that now demanded to be fed. I started locking my bedroom door. Not to keep him out. To keep myself in. I avoided the living room after 9 p.m. I stopped watching old movies. But nothing could make me unfeel what I'd felt in his arms. One night, we sat on the back porch steps. The sunset painted everything in soft orange and gold. He sat at the far end, giving me space. I didn't even notice the glass of wine in my hand until I heard him say, You're quiet lately. I've been thinking. Me too. I looked at him then. Really looked. He was beautiful. Not in some perfect way, but in the way he carried emotion in his silence. I shouldn't have let it happen, I whispered. But you did. And I didn't stop you. There was no accusation in his voice. Just truth. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My chest was too full of words I didn't know how to speak. He stood, nodded once, and walked off into the dusk. I didn't call after him. I didn't cry. I just watched him disappear into the shadows. Inside, Paul was washing dishes. He glanced up. You okay? I nodded. But I wasn't. Because the worst part wasn't that it happened. The worst part is I wanted it to. And deep down, I still do.